Hey guys, welcome to the podcast today. And I've got a entrepreneur for you, Shane Perry, coming out of California. And he's a performance consultant. He's an expert in human behavior, and he helps people get out of their own way so they can achieve their goals and live the life they desire. So I'm really happy to have him on the show to share his mindsets with the audience. And hopefully there'll be some key takeaways for you to prevent self-sabotage. So Shane, welcome.
Thanks, Christopher. Good to be here.
Yeah. So start off by introducing yourself and we'll dive right into the conversation.
Sure. My name is Shane Perry, and I live here on the Central Coast of California. And I'm a performance consultant. I've spent about 36 years now in a business where it was primarily focused on training, inspiring, motivating, building teams of people, and really getting people to get out of their own way and go become successful. And so over the years, probably about 25 years ago, I did a real deep dive into the psychology of people because I just couldn't understand why, as a species, we're so unique in the fact that we can want something, yet we typically won't do what's necessary to go achieve that. In other words, we just won't get out of our own way. I know people use those words a lot, but it's very true. And so I did a deep dive about 25 years ago and to really try to understand the psychology of people and why we behave the way that we do. And it was very profound. It was very educational. And I was actually able to put together a process that I was able to use in my business that built a very successful business and the seven-figure earner and things like that. And I've been retired from that business for about semi-retired for about 10 years. And during that time, I was kind of teaching the system that I created to different companies, just here and there, almost playing around with it, some of it in the fitness field, some of it with corporations and things like that. And then about almost 3 years ago, I lost my 19-year-old daughter. She passed away. And that was obviously a very profound experience with me. And one of the takeaways coming from that is I really determined that I want to spend the rest of my life doing something that I'm passionate about, that I can stand behind, that I love. And I truly do love helping people. So we decided to take this almost hobby, if you will, and turn it into a business. So we founded Disruption Factor, and I published my first book and our first online courses out there. We've been doing a lot of public speaking, and we really put a big focus on the comfort zone and setting goals and how to identify how your comfort zone was built, how to leave it and how to leave it behind. And essentially, as I mentioned, get out of your own way and get out there and achieve your goals.
Yeah, really wonderful, really beautiful and inspiring introduction and with greater meaning and purpose. So we'll dive right into it. It sounds like a lot of the work that you do is really high impact for athletes, celebrities, CEOs, executives. One question I have for you is from a performance coach perspective, why do majority of people who live in the greatest country live lives of just mediocrity and just don't amount to anything?
So why is it that they don't go out there and do something? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, there's 5 areas in our life. There's relational, spiritual, financial, recreational, and physical or fitness. And typically people want to take one or more of those areas to a new level. The most common goal set in the world has to do with fitness. It's losing weight. Yet 92% of the people that set goals across the board don't achieve them. They either don't achieve it in the first place or they achieve it. And if it's weight loss, they'll gain it back. And I really believe that the biggest reason is the comfort zones that we have built. But you could jump online, you can go anywhere and see all kinds of talk and noise about the comfort zone. You've got all the circles out there, the fear zone, the growth zone, the comfort zone, and success zone. And everyone's heard a million times that success lies outside of your comfort zone. But rarely do you find anybody that dives into how was your comfort zone built in the first place? And that's really where it starts. And one of the things that I've taught, that I've created is I call it the middle class mentality, or you can call it the mediocre mentality. And that's what the vast majority of Americans were raised with, this middle class mediocre mentality, that we're taught just to be like everybody else. We're not taught to go try to change our lives. We're groomed to be employees from the time that we're kids. we're groomed to be just average, ordinary, be like everybody else. And with that mentality comes certain entrained thoughts. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Keep your money in a bank where it's safe. Money's the root of all evil, almost to a point where you're taught that if you want to make more money, that you're almost a bad person thing. Yet tell you money can't buy happiness, which I agree. Money isn't everything, but they never tell you the flip side of the coin. And that is when you don't have enough money, it brings with it a world of suffering and pain. They never tell us that. And so I think people are stuck in this mediocre mentality. They're afraid to break out, and that helps create their comfort zone. And then, of course, they have character traits about them that keep them in a comfort zone. For example, I have 4 that I've always had to battle. I'm a natural procrastinator. I have an intense fear of rejection, believe it or not. I care way too much about what other people think, and I'm easily distracted. Those 4 things I've had to battle my entire life to get past, and I've become good at that. Most people, they have these traits that keep them in their comfort zone. And then I don't know how far you want me to go right now, but they get in this comfort zone. And when they try to break out of the comfort zone, they don't last long. And there's a reason for that also. And the name of my company is Disruption Factor. And it is the disruption factor that I call it when people step out of their comfort zone to take one of those areas of their life to a new level. Let's just say you want to lose weight. Again, the most common goal, or I want to build a business. I want to whatever. They set a goal, they create a plan, and then they start working towards that goal. They start taking the necessary actions. The very first thing that you're going to get hit before you see an ounce of success is a ton of disruption to your life, your routine, your habits, almost every aspect of your life. And disruption creates discomfort. And you combine that with the other thing that every goal has in common pretty much, and that is you're never where you thought you'd be when you want to be there. So those 2 things combined sends people right back to their comfort zone without even realizing it. And that's all of that is really what I specialize in, getting people to identify this, work on it, and create the habits necessary to put that past them. That was a really long answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's true, because like you look around and basically if you look at the poorest individual in America, it's still 90% is better than 90% of the rest of the developing world. But still, like you could do so much more, and you could help so much more people, which I've always been curious why is there this discrepancy? Why you have like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and why people struggle, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think people they don't want to be like that. It's inherently built into us as a species to want adventure and even risk. It's not part of us to just live a day in, day out, doldrum, boring, same old thing, safe, stable life. Now, I'm not saying go do anything risky and crazy. When you talk about especially entrepreneurship, you talk about getting physically fit. Those are 2 things that create a fire in your spirit and get you fired up. And that's how we're built. We're designed for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like one movie that really resonated me with when I was growing up was The Matrix. And I had to watch it like 3 times to understand, like, we're all living in this like kind of just this socially programmed matrix. And there's some people like Neo, you can break out of it. And there's just the rest, they're just sleepwalking through life. And so how do you break out of this mentality? If somebody really obviously there's like entrepreneurs such as yourself, but how do you just get people to wake up, just go for more? There's more to life.
I think it starts with, and I'm the same way, by the way, I had to probably watch it 5 times to understand it. I think it starts with people understanding that it's okay to want to be different. It's okay to want to improve your life. That's a big part of that middle-class mediocre mentality, is we are taught that we should just be like everybody else. They need to understand that it's okay if you want to get free and financially independent. It's okay to want to make more money. It's okay to want to lose weight and get fit. It's okay. And so a lot of it, in fact, the majority of it is all mindset. And that's the crazy thing, because a lot of people, when you say, hey, let me teach you some mindset stuff, so many people just turn it off. No, They want to, if they, let's say they pay $100, they want to be able to take something home, unwrap it, plug it in and turn it on. The concept of mindset to most people is, oh, here we go. But they don't understand that literally everything begins and ends with a mentality. Myself, and I can only speak from my experience, really is I just didn't want to be like everybody else. I'm not better than anybody else. I've never thought that, but I just didn't want to be like everybody else. And I took at 21 years old, this really grand view of life and said the idea of working a job that I probably won't like for the majority of my life, answering to people who are telling me what to do, that just doesn't appeal. I just don't want that life. And I'm surrounded by people telling me like, oh, you should be happy with the job you have. And people would love to have that job and good for you. And no, I'm not. I want more. And I think most people do want more, but they're afraid to take that first step. They don't understand the importance of embracing all things mentality, all things mindset, because what you and I are talking about here, we're not talking about jumping on to a major league diamond and hitting a 96-mile-an-hour fastball 450 feet. You and I can't do that. We physically can't do that. That's not the case when it comes to achieving goals. It's all between our ears. Anyone can go out and achieve whatever goal that they have. So it starts with them really understanding that it's okay to want more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I'm a very spiritual individual, and I think the universe tried to wake the world up, and through COVID, just basically slap people in the face and just be like, hey, wake up, there's more to life. And so one thing that I've really observed is, because you mentioned 92% of goals never, like, just like your New Year's resolution, like 2 weeks in, it's all gone.
Right.
And what's like, especially when I talk to people, they want to eat right. And then they start to do the habits, and then either their parents or their friends or their spouse or whatever says something, and then basically they revert back. And how do you create a environment that is self-sustaining as opposed to pulling you back?
I think there's a number of things. There's a number of things that I teach people with the program and the coaching. And one of them is you want to set goals. It begins and ends with a goal. And you have to set your goal. You need to write your goal down. You should have a 90-day goal, a 6-month goal, a 1-year or a 2-year goal. And then you need to cultivate those goals. And cultivating those goals means, let's say you want to make more money and start a business, or let's say you want to lose weight. When you achieve that goal, what is your life going to be like? So how are you going to look? How are you going to feel? What clothes are you going to wear? What difference in your lifestyle will you see? Do everything from write it down to print out pictures. Surround yourself with the end result of these goals, because you have to cultivate them, because you constantly need to be surrounded by what you're doing, because no matter who you are, we all want to quit and give up on those goals about 1,000 times. And that's just in the first month. So it's not just set a goal and go. And that's what most people do. Then you embark on, create a plan, execute the plan, schedule it in. Understand that as you embark on this goal, you are going to get hit with a ton of disruption. So understand it, embrace it, try to write down, what do you think the disruption is going to be? For example, write it down. So if it's lose weight, you're going to clear your refrigerator out. You're going to clear out your pantry. You're going to stop drinking soda. You're going to drink water. You're going to not eat after 8 o'clock at night. You're going to find areas. You're going to find time in the week to exercise at least a little bit. Let's just say. Okay. And so what do you think the disruption is going to be? I'm probably going to go to bed hungry. That's not going to feel good. I'm going to have sugar cravings, and that's going to suck. I might even get some caffeine headaches because I'm going to give up soda. And finding the time to go exercise. I have a family. I've got young kids, let's say. I'm a single mom, whatever it may be. I'm already flying by the seat of my pants as it is. How am I going to find the time? It's going to be tough. So try to itemize as specifically as you can the disruption that's going to hit you, and almost look forward to it, embrace it. And then the first mindset that there is, the first mentality shift is, when you get hit with that disruption and you feel like stopping or just not doing it that day, ask yourself a question. What would most people do right now? Because you know what the answer is. Most people would not do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you do it, that's how you're going to win. Look, any area of your life, Christopher, any area that you want to be successful at, You don't need people like you. You don't need people like me. You don't need books. All you have to do is look around and look what everybody else does. And if you just do the opposite, you're going to win. And it's not putting down people. And again, you're not better than people, but it is doing the opposite. And then I would say the second mindset shift, and this is something that I've taught, and I'll be honest with you, it gets a little controversial out there in the motivational self-help mindset space. But I believe in what's called negative motivation. We are all taught in this space that you need to be positive and just think about how great your life is going to be and think about how good you're going to feel. And you need to do all that, obviously. But you also have to sit there and think to yourself, okay, so I set this goal, let's just say to lose weight. And I start and I'm doing the actions and maybe even see some results. I'm going to feel good. Then you have to ask yourself, if I stop and I give up 6 months, a year, 2, 3 years down the road, I look in the mirror and for a split second, I have this thought, where would I be right now if I just wouldn't have stopped?
Mhm.
And that is one of the worst, sends chills down your spine feeling you can ever have. And most of us have had that because almost all of us on this podcast, you and me probably, I know me included, I would assume probably you too, we've probably had moments in our life where we set goals, went forward and gave up. And maybe down the road, look back and thought, gosh, if I wouldn't have given up, where could I be right now? And it's an awful feeling. That's a big reason a lot of people are afraid to embark on goals again because of that feeling. So if you cultivate that feeling in your mind, you're going to go because it is a fact. And you've probably heard this, but people will fight harder to avoid loss, to avoid pain than they will to gain success and pleasure. Fought harder when any goals that I've set, I fought harder because I didn't want that feeling than I did to achieve what I was going to get. So I can't stop now. If I stop, I'm going to punish myself a year down the road. I'm going to feel so bad. So creating those things. So that's a lot of it, just those mentalities.
Yeah, I love that. I think a good one was talking about the Dickens method or process, where it's basically it's like you're a Scrooge and you look and see like what your life would be if you kept on doing this, and you use those negative outcomes as motivation to not go there, and which
Right.
I really love your language, because most people talk about goal setting, but you talk about goal cultivation. And how can people maintain momentum beyond the initial excitement of setting a goal?
I think once you start to see your first ounce of success, when you start to get that first success taste, obviously it makes your goals a lot easier. But you got to get to that point before you see that first a little bit of success. You're going to get hit with a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, a lot of disruption, a lot of questioning yourself. What am I doing? That's just life. That's what separates the 8% from the 92%. But once you start experiencing some success, you'll say you've lost a few pounds or you've made your first dollar in business or something, then obviously it gets a little easier. And what you want to do is ultimately it's about creating a new comfort zone. Okay. So building your life in 90-day cycles, working your goals in 90-day cycles, 90 days, because the first 30 days, not much is going to change. You're going to put in a lot of work and you're really not going to see much for it. Second 30 days, you should start to see something from the effort. And by the end of that 90 days, hey, you haven't achieved your goal yet, but you're not where you used to be. You will see some sort of a climb. You will see that you can see that you've moved your life or you've moved that goal a little bit. So I've always believed, whether it's business or physical or anything, any type of a goal, you want to build it and work it in 90-day cycles and then reassess in 90 days. But ultimately what it's about is it's about building a new comfort zone. Now, I've been teaching this stuff for 30 years almost, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't had to do it myself until 4 years ago. I did it years ago, but I spent the entire decade of my 40s doing the low carb, high protein diet. I would go on this, I would drop 20 pounds and I'd stop. And then over the next year, I'd gain 20 pounds back, I'd drop it. I kept doing that, knowing that it's not right, knowing that I shouldn't do that. And the last time I did it, it just wreaked havoc on my body. That's a horrible diet to do.
Mm.
And so I just stopped. And then 4 years ago, let's see, I'm 56 now, so 52 years old, 4 years ago, I was in the worst shape of my life.
Mm.
And I was heavy for me. I had no shoulders. I had no nothing. And I just woke up one day and I said, I know what I need to do. I need to eat better, and I need to get in the gym. And I did. I started that day. And all of a sudden, I realized that everything I've been teaching people for the last 25 years, I got to do now. I'm experiencing the disruption. 3 days into it, I can't even brush my teeth. I'm in so much pain and saying no. And so I've had to and that was another big reason, big thing that motivated me to do this as well, is because I just lived it and it works. Now, then what happened, the whole point of me telling you the story is about 2 years into it, I was traveling and I was in a position where I had gone about a week plus of not doing any form of exercise, no gym, no, not even walk anything. And I was grumpy and I was not in a good mood and I couldn't understand like what's wrong with me. And then I realized I know what's wrong with me. I'm upset because I'm not able to exercise. And then I got excited because I knew at that point that it's over. I'm not where I want to be, but I know that I'll get there now because I realize I have built a new comfort zone where I'm only comfortable if I'm able to do the things required to achieve and maintain this goal. And that is the ultimate goal. And that happens by you staying at it, repetition, overcoming that disruption, building it in 90-day cycles. And then and when you get to that point, then it just becomes easy. We all know people that they're just doing what they need to do, whatever area of life is just easy and natural for them. They don't have to dig deep for the motivation anymore because it's become their new comfort zone, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And speaking of comfort zone, what's really interesting is what I've noticed is people that are progressively trying to improve themselves and expand their zone of comfort, there'll be a point where they'll go outside their comfort zone and they'll either achieve success or they may experience failure. They'll learn from it. They go at it and expanding your comfort zone. Talk about the relationship between self-sabotage and expanding your comfort zone. Because it's like, I've noticed, for example, if you're the first time you're in competition and you win, that gives you extra. Your body's, yeah, I can do it. But that first time is hard. Expansion of comfort zone and self-sabotage.
Yeah, we all have heard the saying, success lies outside of your comfort zone. And it's 100% true. Our comfort zone is called a comfort zone for a reason, because it's comfortable. There's no pressure to perform. Nobody's watching you. There's no spotlight on you. There's no expectation. And when you leave that comfort zone, you create an expectation, at least within yourself. You create pressure that you didn't have before. And there's a lot of, I put people through an exercise, and it's really to determine what are the character traits that you have that built and keep you in your comfort zone. As I mentioned this earlier, what mine are. And I've had people say everything from fear of success is a big one. Believe it or not, that's one of the most common ones I hear is people like fear of success. What if I make it? What if I achieve? How am I going to be able to handle it? I couldn't relate to that, but that was theirs. Another big one is people, and this is a really big one, is people say, I'm afraid to give it my all and totally commit to this goal because I'm worried that if I give it my all and I commit, what if I don't make it? How am I going to feel about myself knowing I gave it my all and I just wasn't good enough, or it wasn't enough and I didn't achieve it? And that keeps a lot of people to self-sabotage. Like they're going to purposely trip themselves up and not go all in and not give it their all. Therefore, they don't know what that is. And that's common. And thank goodness it wasn't one of mine, but it's a lot of people. So what we talk to them about is we talk a lot about that sense of adventure and risk, how it is inherently entrained in all of us as a species to want adventure, to want risk. And again, not walk across a freeway risk, not anything crazy, but just take a chance. But you can't steal second and keep a foot on first. You've got to stick your neck out. It's not going to get cut off. But you also realize that it's really not, you've heard people talk a lot about the journey. The journey is everything, not the destination. I've been on my fitness journey for 4 years. I'm not where I want to be. I could point out I'm in the best physical shape of my life since probably 25 years old, but give me 10 minutes and I'll tell you 10 things about my body that I'm still not happy with. But I love the journey and get them excited about the journey on the way to achieve that goal, whether you achieve it. First of all, if you don't achieve the goal, you're going to improve your life. Right. And as you're doing, if you're putting in the effort and you're putting in the work, you can look in the mirror and tell that person, yes, I'm putting in the work. I'm doing what needs to be done for the most part. Then you remind myself of, hey, I'm not where I want to be, but man, thankfully I'm not where I used to be. And even if you come short of your goal, whatever area of that life, you're going to take it to a new level. You're going to feel better and you're going to know that you have it in you to go for something. And
Mm.
in a world where we're surrounded by great starters, but very few people finish, you'll become a finisher. Now, whether you finish and actually achieve your goal, we'll see, but you're going to be further along than you are right now. And it's going to feel a lot better knowing that you're doing it, whether you achieve or not. Just the fact that you're doing it. We've all had days where we didn't want to do what we needed to do, but we did it anyways. And those were always the days you feel the best. And we've had days where a lot of this in my business, it was full of a lot of prospecting, a lot of building, where I had days that I really had to dig deep to get it up, to get out there and do what I needed to do, and struck out completely all day. But I wasn't dejected. I still felt great because I did it. I would have liked to have some results, but at least I didn't sit around home and make excuses. Remind them of that. It's okay. So it's all mindset.
Interesting. I know one final question because we have around 7 minutes remaining. And as you progress and you've expanded your comfort zone, one thing I've noticed is that your circle of friends either changes or becomes smaller. And what is your advice for people that are experiencing, they say it's lonely at the top, or they got to keep other friends that are not serving them well at a distance? How do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a big part of the disruption because it's painful. When I started my business at 21 years old, everybody, my parents, my dad, my family, my friends, everybody, almost everybody teased me, gave me a hard time. They couldn't believe I was giving up. I delivered beer for a living and they couldn't believe I was giving up that job. Of course, they were just happy they got free beer. But for me, I got teased, I got beat up on, and it was awful.
Mhm.
And then as I started achieving success, then you got the people going, oh, aren't you just fancy? What do you think? You're too good for us? No, I don't think I'm too good for you. God, I bought my first nice car and I wouldn't even drive it around my hometown because I didn't want people to think that I thought I was better than them. But it's going to happen. You have to understand, right? It's the crabs in the bucket theory. We've all heard it. You could put crabs in a bucket, no lid, because time one tries to climb out, the other ones will grab it and pull it back down. Understand this. If you're listening to this podcast, you, me, Christopher, all of us, we hang around people that are just like us. We drive the same cars. We have the same jobs. We have the same spouses, the same kids, wear the same clothes, have the same hobbies. That's who we hang out with. When a day comes along and someone in that group decides that they want to expand, they want to take an area of their life they want to set a goal, they want to do something, any area of their life, they want to make it better, they want to improve. You think the people around you are going to support you. They're not. You instantly became a threat because if it's entrepreneurial driven, your lazy friends are going to think, if Christopher makes it, how am I going to feel about myself because I know that I'm never going to do anything. So I need to try to convince Christopher to give this up so I don't have that uncomfortable feeling. That thought happens in their subconscious mindset, in the subconscious mind in a split instant of a second. So their natural instinct is going to be to try to talk you out of it. Chris, are you sure you want to do that? I don't know. You know what they say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If it's diet, they're going to say, well, you've tried losing weight before, right? You keep trying. What is this, your sixth diet, man? They want to talk because they want you to be just like them. So again, it's part of that. Embrace that disruption. That's a part of disruption. It's going to come. Understand it. And all I can tell you is you just got to have thick skin and go for it. And remember, part of that middle-class mentality that I talked about that so many of us were brought up with is we take career and financial advice from people typically that are worse off than we are. And you can say the same thing about physical. I want to get fit. I want to lose weight. I want to do this. And it's what your completely overweight, out of shape friend trying to talk you out of it or telling you it's not going to work. Or you want to start a business and you want to begin an entrepreneurial journey because you want to create freedom and financial independence as a goal. And it's your broke, barely able to hold on to a job buddy that's telling you that it's probably a scam. So a big part of our job here, people like you and me, Christopher, has got to wake people up to this. If you just become aware, it's not a magic formula, just become aware of this and expect it, almost look forward to it. And when you get that negativity, instead of going, oh my gosh, how could you say that? I'm so hurt. You laugh and go, I knew someone was going to say that. So when it comes to disruption, since we're running out of time here, it is the biggest reason people give up on their goals is because they're unable to handle the disruption that occurs in their life when they embark on a goal. If they can just putting that thought in their minds and getting them to understand that it's going to happen, look forward to it, embrace the disruption. And when it hits, just ask yourself, what would most people do? And I'm going to do the opposite. And that's how I'm going to win. They'll get through it and just know that it's about building that new comfort zone.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I love that. They say that 90% of success is just showing up, and then which is
absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
How can people find out more about you, reach out to you, your socials, work with you, and so on?
Sure. I usually just send people to my website because everything is on there. My socials, it's disruption-factor.com. So disruption and then the -factor.com. And I have a podcast that we just started fairly recently, as a matter of fact, and that's on there, as well as information about my speaking, my course, all the socials are on there, my book, things like that. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to people, and we're having a good time, and it's fun helping people.
Yeah. Fantastic conversation. And I'm sure a lot of the audience are leaving inspired, and be sure to follow Shane's resources. They'll be in the links and show notes. Give his social and follow. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks a lot, Christopher. I really appreciate it.